This is so weird being on a channel that's not mine. Hey team, welcome back to the StudyTube project. If this is the first video you're watching here, hi, welcome. Welcome to like the best online community of motivated people interested in learning just for fun. My name's Jade. I have a YouTube channel called Unjaded Jade. I've been avoiding doing this for so long because I just couldn't decide what to make a video on. If you want me to do a video on any of these, let me know, because I debated doing something biology related, like genetics, or wildlife related, because I love ecology, an intro to coding, because I've had to do some basic coding for university, an analysis of my favourite short story, because I just love literature, something on like spirituality and theology, or something on like ethics. Like, I'm very scattered in my interests. I was also this close to making a video about different dog breeds, so you could have had that. But what are we doing today? Business, specifically at Pixar, which just like makes it 10 times cooler. Why this topic? Well, I've always been interested in business and entrepreneurship. I love people and I love thinking about how to get people to work their best and to feel the most motivated and to have a really great team dynamic. I love considering how people's individual purpose aligns with a larger business's purpose. And in this sense, I think this is how considering formal business structure massively influences teams and, in Pixar's case, output. Like the films that have defined some of our childhoods, they were only possible because of the working of many talented people in an effective way. And why Pixar? Well, so as I say, I lived in San Francisco, and for my social sciences assignment, we had to apply all the business concepts we were learning to a real organisation of our choice. I just got really lucky. Pixar, I literally remember watching a tour of Pixar on Disney Channel when I was like 7 and being like, this is the coolest thing ever. And then one of my really close friends wants to be an animator, and she just networked in the city. She met this really cool guy. I got to go interview him. He's been there nearly 20 years. He heads the art team at Pixar. It was the most surreal experience, and if I can share any learnings I've had from it with you, then maybe it can give you an interesting moment of quarantine. Okay, when it comes to business structure, there's really one high-level choice which every organisation has to make, and that is how it defines its hierarchy. Who reports to who? How much freedom do people have? Can they define their own projects, or are all projects being defined by someone higher up than them? This affects the day-to-day running of tasks, it affects the morale and motivation of individual people, it affects like team dynamics, it affects quality of output, productivity, efficiency, like everything. There are so many different pros and cons to different business structures, and today I'm going to rapidly teach you some of those structures, touch on the pros and cons of each, and then we're going to apply all of this knowledge to Pixar. Why might this video be useful / interesting to you? At the end of the day, almost all of us are going to be working in a company at some stage in our lives, and I think it's really interesting if you have a broader understanding of how the business functions, being able to consider alternative ways it could function, knowing if you speaking in isolation with your department and team is maybe the best way that you could be working, or even being able to suggest if you can like cross-collaborate with teams. I think you can learn a lot from how these organizations have managed to create such incredible things just with like the power of people through structuring it well. Okay, super quick, we have the functional hierarchy. This is divided by job function. You got your marketing, you got your sales, you got your manufacturing, product development. People perform their specialized tasks with members who have similar expertise. They stay within their team. They report to like their boss within that sector. So for example, marketing has a marketing boss, and then all those high level people, so like director of marketing, director of finance, those people will coalesce and talk to each other, but all the lower level people kind of stay within their team. This can be good because specialized people talking to specialized people means you can kind of get in depth into whatever branch that is, but you've not got any like cross collaboration, and especially if you're working on like the same product from different angles, it can be like kind of disjointed. Okay, here we have a divisional hierarchy. This is like specific sectors or consumer segments. For example, we work for Apple now, okay? And Apple might have a branch who works on the iPad, a branch who works on iPhone, a branch who works on MacBooks. We have the matrix structure, and I think this one's really cool. I think it's like super efficient generally. You have your main reporting line. For example, I work in marketing. I talk to my marketing manager, but I have a secondary indirect manager who is working along the same product line or campaign line, but in different sectors. For example, imagine that you're working on the Unjaded Jade motivated collection. Is it really useful for someone to stay just in marketing of those jumpers? Or is it also interesting for them to talk to like the manufacturing team? Like for example, maybe they're made really ethically and sustainably and you want to chat about those ideas to the manufacturing team so that you can apply them into your marketing strategy. Or you want to talk to the sales team because they're going to be more directly pushing the product out, whereas you're more like the branding behind it. So here you get so much more insight because you're talking not only within your division, but you're also going across divisions about the same product just from different angles. So you get like diverse perspectives, although it can add complexity because it's like, I've got this boss and I've got this boss, like who do I report to? And decisions can be made slower and it can be harder to like feed things through the structure. But in general, I think it's pretty effective. And finally, one of the ones I want to share with you is so fascinating, and this is a flat hierarchy structure. There basically is no hierarchy, which is so hard to imagine. It's like you don't even have a boss to report to. There is no one who like runs the organization because you all run it equally, kind of. Everyone self-organizes around a collective purpose. So everyone believes in the mission of the organization so much that within that they can kind of like define their own projects. So it gives you so much autonomy and flexibility in your work, and you get to choose your own project, so it's like you're more passionate about it. You can't feel motivated by trying to climb a hierarchy and get a higher role because there isn't one, and you don't get like recognition from superiors, and if you're not a self-motivated person then it's kind of hard. Personally, I think this is better for smaller startups where everyone is so familiar with the mission of the organization. Like as a business scales, it's so hard to maintain that with like every person who joins the organization. It's such like a new age way of thinking about business. If you're interested in reading more on that, read about Holacracy, which is kind of like a more structured approach to a flat organization, and also read about Zappos and Morningstar, who are two organizations who've like tried out this, and like there's good and bad effects of it. Just have a look, it's interesting. Okay, you are now somewhat an expert in business organizational structure. Ooh. Now, let's think about applying all of that to Pixar, which was me a few months ago. If you don't know what Pixar is, I'm just gonna quickly tell you. They're like this incredible animation studio that is now a part of Disney. Think Up, Ratatouille, A Bug's Life, Toy Story, Brave. Like so many stories that like defined my childhood. That was them. That was those people who created this. Their kind of purpose as an organization is to make great films that like inspire generations, but also push the boundaries of animation. They started in 1986 with literally 40 employees, and now they have over 700. They have like a massive Pixar headquarters in Oakland. It's like just across the bay from San Francisco. But the reason this is so interesting is because Pixar's original structure actually wasn't very successful in terms of motivation and morale and trying to like foster collective creativity. So I'm going to take you back to that structure and then tell you about the new one, and we'll see what's improved. Okay, I want you to put yourself in the shoes of a founder of a brand new studio. You have pressure to make it in the world. You're on a tight 5-year schedule to make this film called Toy Story. You have your deadlines, you have a set budget. So naturally, the structure they came up with was a traditional hierarchy. It was a functional hierarchy divided by aspects of the film. So for example, the art team, the tech team, the story team. And the employees just spoke to their team. Art spoke to art, tech spoke to tech. The art director and the tech director would speak, but the actual teams themselves would just stay within the teams. Every single communication that one team wanted to have with another had to go through the director, which is like slow and weird, and especially because they're all working on the same film, it's like, why is there not more cross collaboration? For example, an animator could not talk to a modeler without going through the proper channels. The micromanaging transactional leadership style was really detrimental to the creative process. There was a company culture of just like lack of trust. So for example, if the art team had a really good idea for the film and it went through to the story team and the story team just completely changed it, then the art team were like, hey, we didn't even get to talk to you about this decision, and then they just watched the film being made differently. And employees didn't really want to share their ideas because there was such a forcible leadership style where like the boss just kind of had control over the final decisions, so people wouldn't share their ideas, so then no one could iterate on it creatively. This was identified by the director of technical, and so they reinvented the structure. By now they had over 100 people, so it's like they couldn't just not have some kind of formal hierarchy. Like nothing would ever get done, they still have strict deadlines, etc. But they just needed a better creative process. So they had this cool matrix in place. Teams would have contact with their boss, but they'd also have another director who is like the director of the whole film in like every aspect. They'd have things called incubator meetings, which is like someone from tech and someone from storyboarding and someone from modelling would all sit in a room, share ideas, regularly just learn from each other's teams and like what they're all doing. Just the whole hierarchical structure flattened. They realised that communication channels had to be very different to the hierarchical channels that had existed before. Steve Jobs helped this a lot. So he designed the Pixar Campus all with the idea of maximising random encounters between teams. For example, the large cafeteria, the meetings, the toilets, everything was designed so that a director, like a high up guy like John Lasseter, would get to know a lower down storyboarder. They built 2 massive bridges. So you have like on one side of Pixar, you have the arts team, and on another side you have tech, all within this building. And now they have 2 bridges. So you can just like walk over and go see the other team, chat to like one of the divisions, walk back to your team, bring some new insight in. And you don't have to ask your manager. They have like daily meetings within teams anyway, and then any new ideas, fresh perspectives, you just share. They invented this thing called the brain trust, which sounds very creepy and cult-like. It's basically made of all the highest up people. So like Steve Jobs and John Lasseter and Ed Catmull and these high up directors. And it kind of borrows from the flattened holacracy structure that I briefly mentioned. Any employee at any time can call a meeting with the brain trust. And in the past, this wasn't successful because the brain trust, the high up people, they had the power to basically say no to any idea or say yes or change it like forcibly, and the employee would have no choice. But this new rule with the flattened structure was that anyone who brought in a fresh idea, the high up people were not allowed to change anything about it. They were only allowed to give feedback, to give recommendations, and then this employee can make whatever choice they like with regards to that. They can just go back and creatively iterate upon it. And this was so good for building trust, because now employees would feel so free to bring their wackiest ideas. And like if the top people hated it, like they can just keep the idea and like keep working on it. Like they don't have to change it. It's not like a yes, no, boss kind of structure. For example, the guy that I interviewed, Jay Shuster, he literally came up with the idea of WALL-E. He literally said to us, he was like, let's be honest, which studio really thought that a random robot on a trash planet would be a big selling movie? But because of the trusting environment of Pixar, he felt like he could share that idea and then iterate upon it with the creative minds of loads of other people. Through the incubators and the discussion and the lunchtime chats and just like working hard but also in a chill, creative manner, you end up with such an incredible like childhood defining film. At the end of the day, for a creative organization like Pixar, the biggest prioritization is collaboration and relationships. None of those thrive within traditional business hierarchy. Having the incubators, encouraging wacky ideas, encouraging people to like speak across different teams but then also report back within their team, those things have made them really successful. Creative animators don't want a super strict boss like breathing over their shoulder like create my idea. They want inspiration, direction, and a leadership built on trust so that they feel like they can share their best ideas. Pixar's so cool. They even do like pre-screenings of films like in the very early days when they've got like a 1-minute overview of a film, and like everyone in the organization has to gather in this massive theater, and they have this button thing and they can like decide yes or no whether they like the story and whether they think they should like pursue it any further. And every single person in that room has an equal vote, you know, regardless of what stage of the process you are. If you like the story, if you don't, it's counted the same. And it's just so cool to see because everyone who's there just seems to love working there. Like he's been there nearly 20 years. Yes, and things have changed kind of more recently in the Pixar structure, but this was in their like peak days. I think there's just a lot to learn from it in terms of business structure that suits that organization. I hope it was just interesting in some way, whether you are interested in business or entrepreneurship. Keep on watching the incredible videos that the StudyTube creators are making. I'm just in awe of these people I get to call friends, and like it's so cool just learning something new every day. So if you've not already subscribed, subscribe. If you want to see anything more that I do, you can hit me up on my channel. What else would you like me to make a StudyTube video about? Like tell me. Have an amazing day. Thank you for watching. Bye.